Hello, everybody. Welcome into another exclusive edition of The Rundown right here on Big Rapids Daily News on YouTube. I am joined today by two very special guests. Blake Thomas, as always. Blake, good to have you back. I missed you last night, but I heard a lot of good things. What's going on?
I was coaching my daughter's team, went to the girls' game, watched them beat a good Kent City team, played really well. I'm sure we'll get into it. Like I said, I was watching my Spartans as well, big win against Purdue. All three of my teams, the Big Rapids girls, the boys, and the Spartans win. It was a good night last night.
It was a good night last night indeed, especially for the other man joining us here, Ty Gielczyk, back from injury, fresh off of a win. Ty, what's going on, man?
Not much. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We'll give you the rundown on CSAA hoops. We'll start with the boys in the first half of the show. Stick around for the girls in the second half of the show, or if you skip forward, hey, we respect it. It's fine, but we appreciate all of those listening in here. But before we get going, big thanks to Dazos Digital. Target your target audience with all of the great graphic design, audio streaming, video programming, no matter what it is, Dazos Digital can help you make your business thrive in front of the people you want it to thrive for. Find out more at DazosDigital.com, a proud sponsor of the rundown. Let's get right into it, guys. We'll start with last night. Kent City, obviously, Ty, for you, big game, as we mentioned. Missed the last couple games with that ankle foot injury. Back on the floor. First off, how did that feel just to be back out there playing with the boys again?
It felt good just to be out there to help my team. I was a little worried about the conditioning because last time it happened, I only took a week off and I got back and we played Cedar and I was huffing and puffing. And 2 weeks, an extra week, I was a little more worried. But mainly, I was just happy to get out there and play with my friends again. We played well. Just we got to focus more on defense a little bit, but we played pretty good.
Absolutely. I know it. Assistant coach Jason Kostecki, talked to him. He was mentioning 32 minutes of defense, right? Newaygo, it definitely felt there last night. Might have been missing a little bit down the stretch, but you still guys got the win 61-59 against Kent City. Very close game. Boy, the Eagles, they made their three-point shots. They were elite from outside the arc. There's no kidding. What was it, especially for you guys, though? That third quarter run, I know Blake and I were talking about before we came on here. That was just massive. It felt like coming out of the locker room with a mission, and you guys got out and got yourself back into that game. What was the key in that locker room for you guys to really get that turnaround going?
I'm gonna give a lot of credit to Coach Kosecki and Cole Heiss in there. Cole was kind of yelling at me, especially. I was getting a little lazy on defense. But he was trying to pump us up, telling us to play defense. The defense will turn into offense, and it did. I mean, I remember I got a couple rebounds, and then I saw Jerice running down. I just fired it to him, and he had a couple layups. I think back-to-back possessions, which 4-0 run right there. That was nice. Kosecki did a nice job, firing us up too. Just the main focus was on defense. The shots will fall. You gotta prevent their shots from falling.
Absolutely. Big Rapids winning one of the many games around the area. Blake, we'll look at these here. Lakeview taking down Chip Hills. Massive win for the Wildcats moving forward for them in the final part of the regular season. Newaygo beating White Cloud. That game certainly for Newaygo. Get your get back after, of course, the Cardinal thumping at home on Thursday. Tri-County, the upset of the day, you might say, beating Central Montcalm by 9. That's a big win there for the Vikings. Claire just edging out my own Reed City Cows by 3 points. Hate to see it. That's a good Pioneer team, and they always play tough. And then Grant's offense is back to good old things, putting up 91 against Morley Stanwood. But especially, Blake, games that catch your eye. I'm sure that Tri-County one was a spark because they needed a win badly, and they got it.
Yeah, Tri-County, getting that win over Central Montcalm. Also beat Chip Hills last week by 22. They're moving in the right direction. Newaygo getting, like you said, getting their get back, a 15-point win over a good White Cloud team who just lost to Grant by 5 a couple weeks ago or even last week. Tri-County is trending in the right direction. A team that I thought was trending in the right direction is now sliding off a little bit in Chippewa Hills. But overall, it's the CSAA. Anybody's going to be anybody, especially in that group of 3 and 6, third through sixth place. They're going to beat up on each other. You get some crossover games too. Anybody can really be anybody outside. Big Rapids and Grant are the two clear-cut top teams who have taken care of business. But the other one, man, it's been really fun to watch. You never know who's going to win on any given night, and that's the best thing about hoops.
Absolutely. Again, speaking of those top of the standings, we'll take a look at those now. CSAA Red starting first. There are the Grant Tigers, 9-0, 19-2 on the season. I know Ty is smirking behind the frame right now because there are the Cardinals in the second spot, 8-1, 15-5. Biggest game of the year upcoming. We'll talk about that here in just a minute. Newego right behind there in the third spot. Chip Hills, those guys fighting for 3 and 4 respectively. And then Tri-County and Reed City looking to peak at the right time. And both those teams have been playing well over the last couple weeks. And so especially Ty looking at these tables, right? Going to Friday night's game. I mean, this feels like an early March championship game. There's no doubt about it.
Absolutely. I've heard from a couple Grant players and coaches that they're sending everyone to Grant. They're sending everyone up here for their game. They got a little student bus coming. They got whole county coming to watch. And I'm thinking it's gonna kind of be like throwback to 2016 when we had Dimitri and them, and they went to the Breslin. I think those are packed gyms, and I think I don't know how many people are going to be there, but I'm hoping it's going to be as packed as this one, just to see what it looks like with all those bleachers full of people.
Absolutely. Should be a great environment. We'll take a look at the white division here real quick before we touch on some of those other games to watch. Kent City, right? The team you guys played on Tuesday night, 6-1, 11-10, still in control of the CSAA white. Right behind them is the team they're playing on Friday. Another massive game, right? The Mohawks from always Stanwood, 5-2, 10-10 on the season with their non-conference schedule. Central Montcalm was a red hot team. Now they've cooled off a little bit. Have lost a couple of their last couple, 4-3, 9-12 on the year. Then you have White Cloud and Lakeview jockeying there at the bottom of the table. And so Blake, especially out of those two, I mean, we talked about Grant and Big Rapids. Rinse, repeat with Moy Stanwood and Kent City. Those two teams now are going to be playing on Championship Friday.
Yeah, and just watching Kent City last night, they're a good ball club. I don't think their record of 11-10 is necessarily indicative of how good they actually are. You look at the teams they've played. I've got them written down here. They played Muskegon Oak Ridge, who is beating Ludington. Played Whitehall to a couple of possessions. They played Kinawa Hills, who Big Rapids knows is a good ball club. Greenville, Coopersville, Cedar. They're playing these big schools, and granted, they have the benefit of geography, right? They're closer to Grand Rapids, they're closer to that Muskegon area, so they can play those teams. They've got a good coach in Connor Boyd, who has his kids playing hard. They progressed from last year to this year. They've got some good pieces. They shot the lights out last night, but that's what you expect from teams in their home gym. Hopefully that happens Friday night. A little side note there. But they're a good club. And then you look at Morley Stanwood, who's played reasonably well over the last few games. And they went to Kent City, got an 8-point win earlier in the year. So right now, you've got Morley Stanwood, dropping 2 games in the league, but they're fighting for a share in their own gym. And that's kind of the cool thing about the CSAA red and white this week is the two teams that are trying to clinch an outright title have to earn it and do it on the road on the 21st.
It's like the script writers, schedulers figured out a way to make this an epic championship Friday. Let's take a look at some of the games around the league. Top left of your screen, there it is, the one everyone's highlighting, Cardinals and Tigers there in Cardinal Arena. It's going to be great. Then you look at all the other games, you can look just straight at records, and it's a coin flip all across the board. Chip Hills battling Newego. Both of those teams, have been a little up and down. We'll see if home court advantage wins out in that one. White Cloud and Central Montcalm, right? Both those teams played competitively parts in this year. Lakeview going to Harrison earlier on in the week. We'll see how the Wildcats fare there against the Yellow Jackets. Then you got Kent City, Morley, as we mentioned there for the CSAA White, and then Reed City and Tri-County. Those should be all 6. I would have to imagine here, Ty, I'll start with you. I mean, these seem like, just based on you've seen a lot of these teams, feels like all these matchups are pretty 50-50 coin flips right now.
Yeah, they are. I mean, I'll give credit to a lot of them. They do play their hardest, and sometimes we get lazy, but we're just lucky that we have the talent on our team, which we shouldn't ever bank on talent, but sometimes talent does get you over the edge, I'm thankful that we have the players on our team.
Absolutely. And Blake, really quick before we talk into postseason here, what is one other game that you think should be highlighted here this Friday night?
I obviously, because I'm a Cardinal guy, the Newego Chip Hills game, right? I want to see if Newego is going to show anything new, or if they're just getting, they're not playing for anything outside of pride at this point. Are they going to be as plain as possible, play just a straight man defense, do nothing to show that, this is what we're going to do. There's nothing on the scout to get ready for Monday. And also just, overall, just all of these teams, like you said, it's a coin flip. As a coach, you want your guys playing their best basketball, and it's always nice to have a win heading into districts because you just have that little bit of momentum to get you ready for, a lot of these teams who are playing on Monday. You get a 2-day turnaround, and you're right back at it.
A little bit of momentum can be a long way when it comes to playing into the month of March. And speaking of that, we'll look at the postseason now. Brackets have been released for the boys' side, girls' side, just around the corner. We'll touch that later on in the second half of the show. But obviously, District 35 will highlight in bold here. Big Rapids, Newaygo, round one, 7 o'clock there in Newaygo, the 3 and the 6 seed pairing. Then you got Fremont and Reed City, the 4 and the 5. Good news for all of our Cardinal listeners. Well, maybe not all Cardinal listeners, but basketball listeners. We're going to have both of these games broadcast. It's going to be very fun. Myself, Blake, we're going to have the whole get together for you. It's going to be fun with those two games. And those should be two great matchups. Ludington and Hart each getting the bye on each side. But I would be really looking forward to seeing these Wednesday matchups. Of course, me as an alum, I would like to see Reed City pull off the upset against Fremont. We'll see how they go against the size of the Packers. But Big Rapids, especially, I mean, Ty, for you, you're going to be playing a team a third time. Me and I, Blake, talked about it. It seems to be a little dangerous, right? It's hard to beat a team 3 times. We've heard that cliched on a pillow hundreds of times. But what is it, your reaction when you saw that you're going to play Newaygo again?
I mean, one of the biggest things for me is, you're playing them in their own gym. We got to go to their place again. We saw them less than a week ago, so obviously the playing them 3 times, harder to beat a team 3 times. Mom says that all the time, but we just got to take it one game at a time. I remember last year we got a little ahead of ourselves. We were looking to Wednesday too much. I'm just reminding everyone on the team we have to play Monday. Get done with Monday, then we can start talking about Wednesday. Then you got to focus on Wednesday, and then you can start focusing on Friday. So it's just one game at a time is the biggest thing I can say. I mean, Newaygo's good. They got a good coach. They got some good players. We just got the biggest key to it is out hustling them, which sometimes we get a little lazy. Me myself, I'll be honest, but the biggest key is we just got to play hard. And if we play hard, I think we'll be just fine.
Absolutely. And Blake, over to you real quickly before we look at the other districts, right? Obviously, played a team 3 times. Ty said it last year. Manistee game. Don't want to bring that up. Any Cardinal fans don't want to bring that up. Ty's shaking his head, right? Obviously, one game at a time. You have that game to go against Hart, a team that knocked the Cardinals out 2 years ago after that big win against the Orioles. And then you got Reed City, a team that obviously, yeah, they're only a 4-win team, but this is a team that played on Friday last year. So Coach Walsh knows. He knows how to get the job done with the formula, right? Can his guys pull it off, and can they be able to get their way through? It's going to be very, very interesting to see how this bracket plays out. Can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, and anytime you hear the word districts and you walk into the gym, it just feels different. It feels different as a coach. It feels different as a player. I expect it to feel different as a color commentator this year. And I'm sure Ty, and I know you agree, it just feels completely different. It's a brand new season. Everybody's on the same playing field. Win in advance or lose and your season's over. So anything can happen. You're going to see coaches, trying a bunch of different things, gimmick defenses. You might even try holding the ball at times. Just to find a way to advance, and that's what you do. It doesn't matter if you do it by 50 or you do it by 1 point. You survive, you advance, and you hope to keep your season alive as long as you can.
Everybody's record 0-0 when it comes to the postseason. It's a clean slate and a new year, as they always say. Let's take a look at the other brackets before we move to the women's side. Standish Sterling and D36, the team awaiting the winner of Clare, Chip Hills. That'll certainly be the game we'll be keeping an eye on. Obviously, Clare just edging out Reed City. Chip Hills looking to get their get back this Friday night. Gladwin and Ogama Heights on the other side of that bracket. So that'll be a fun matchup. Looking at other districts, including District 40. That should be a very fun one. I'm looking forward to see how Central Montcalm fares against St. John's, right? St. John's, a team Reed City played against in the holiday tournament over 2 years ago. And then obviously Central Montcalm, a team that we know offensively can be red hot, right? Can they be consistent with it? That's going to be the biggest key to see if they can play Portland. And that's going to be a tall order too, playing Portland at their home gym there on Wednesday night. Ionia and Belding on the other side. District 41, Tri-County and Comstock, right? Ty, you guys actually scrimmaged against Comstock earlier this year. Many people don't know that. We'll see how the Vikings fare there against Comstock Park. They will have the right to play. the Tigers of Grant there in the semifinal. That will be at Forest Hills Eastern. Sparta as well as Forest Hills Eastern on the other side in the 2 and the 3 spot. Then you got probably my favorite district outside of 35. You got 72, White Cloud and Shelby, the right to play Pine River. Then you got Manistee, right? Of course, the Manistee Mariners against Hesperia to play Mason County Central, another pretty good basketball program there in D72. And then finally, D73, Lakeview against Ravenna for the right to play Blanchard Montebello. That's going to be at Cook. That's going to be at Lakeview. We'll see if the White Cats, I should say, pull off some of that magic they have this year, men's and women's, right? With the ladies' win over Molly Stanwood, and then speaking of the Mohawks, they will be playing against Holton for the right to play the Eagles again. So they might line up for a third time in the postseason. But Blake, quick thoughts on any of those districts and teams you're watching?
Especially that last one you talked about, you could see Morley Stanwood and Kent City play each other, twice in the span of 4 or 5 days. And a lot of times you see the team that wins the first one struggles in the second one. It just seems like it usually goes that way. So you could see that. But also, I would love to see just the CSAA teams find a way to win a couple of district games. Just to say, hey, we're here. We're a good basketball conference as well. Because a lot of times, you got Central Montclair. It's a tough district. You're traveling to Portland to play a St. John's team that I said that their JV team came up to a team camp of ours a couple summers ago and won the thing. So they're a good club. But overall, I would also really like to see, can White Cloud make a run as well? Mr. Robinson there can carry a team, and their freshman point guard, a guy who has gotten better throughout the year. Could they make a run and build momentum into maybe competing for a district and especially into the 2025-2026 school year?
Going to be exciting indeed. And with that, we're going to flip into the girls' side of hoops. But before we do so, if you want to be a sponsor of the Rundown, 796-7000 for more information, call Big Rapids Media Network and get hooked up, especially with basketball postseason just around the corner. Taking a look at some scores around the league there from Monday and Tuesday in girls' hoops. Cardinals getting a win over Kent City. No, Coach Heist was very pleased with getting that win. Obviously, there's always things to work on with that team. They're really moving on the right foot forward going into the postseason. Then you got Lakeview beating Chip Hills in a defensive slugfest by 6. Newaygo outs the Indians of White Cloud 50-30, I believe, at their place. Tri-County, once again, they pull off the sweep. They upset Central Montcalm by 3 in another defensive slugfest. And then Grant, Molly Stanwood duked it out a little bit. The Tigers played well. Molly Stanwood does get the job done by 11. And then the Coyotes just demolishing Mason County Central. And I think, Blake, you talked to me about this. I'm the alum, and you're bringing this up to me. Reed City looks like they are the team to watch right now. They're playing some good ball.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit later. You lose to a good Big Rapids team, a very good Big Rapids team by 3 on their gym floor, and then you lose to a Central Montcalm team by 3 as well. And there's been struggles all year. You could feel it building. And then they beat Mason County Central by 28, and then they beat Grant by 30. And then looking at their schedule, they play tomorrow against Tri-County. I'm chalking that one up for a win, right? And then you get Ithaca next Tuesday. And then you get Clare next Thursday. They could win those. Theoretically, they can win all those games, be 10-11 going in the district, and probably the hottest team going into districts. So at that point, all bets are off. And District 35 for the girls is no joke. It's tough.
Absolutely. We'll talk about the districts later on, as we did in the boys later on in the show. Looking at the standings, Red Division, they're the Cardinals, unblemished, right? They have gotten themselves in position to outright win. This will just be a statement to get the undefeated with the 0 at the end of the record against Grant, the 3 spot right now. Newaygo right there at number 2. Reed City fighting in 4th, but they're tied with Grant, right? So obviously this game, right, if Big Rapids holds off Grant, Reed City has a spot to get into 3rd in the conference standings if they are to hold off Tri-County. And then you got Chip Hills there in the 5 spot that have pulled off some upsets. And then obviously we'll look at the white really quick as well. Kent City, they're 6-1, 14-5. Molly Stanwood had an opportunity to potentially win outright, but Lakeview spoiled the party. So now Morley's in the same position as Big Rapids boys. needing a win for a share of the conference crown. Central Montcalm right in the heat of the mix as well at the 3 spot, just a couple games back, and then White Cloud there at the bottom. But before we look over at the games coming up, Ty, I'm going to pitch this to you, and because especially I've talked to some of the other guys on the show as well, it feels like, especially when you have two good programs, right, playing on a Friday night back to back, you obviously got the 16-win girls team, and then you got you guys, the 15-win guys team, playing after the girls, and especially how well they've played. It's got to give you guys some momentum and give you some juice going out there, doesn't it?
Yeah, especially I mean they go out and they play their butts off, and we're sitting there watching, and it makes me want to go out there and win too, so you can get the 2 game sweep that night, and especially Friday. I mean, Miss Heiss has told it to us a couple of times. She said, "Do you guys want to stand there and watch us cut down the nets, or do you want to be on the other end cutting yours down?" So especially Friday, we need to get some momentum from them as well.
I have a feeling that's going to be made into a social media clip, those last 10 seconds right there. If a certain outcome happens on Friday night, we'll wait and see. Looking at some of the girls' matchups here so you guys can see the record discrepancy. Cardinals and Tigers there at the top. Then you got the Warriors against Newaygo. Chip Hills, uphill climb. Maybe they can make some noise against Newaygo. White Cloud, Central Montcalm, the way those two teams are playing, could be a toss-up game. We'll see. Then you got Tri-County and Reed City. Lakeview, as mentioned, playing Harrison. And then you got the granddaddy of them all, as they would say, the Mohawks and Kent City going to be duking it out there for the CSAA White Crown. But especially Blake, it seems like not as necessarily in record discrepancy if you look left to right. The same kind of as we saw with the boys where they're more toss-up games, but good opportunities for some of these other teams, though, to make some noise moving into the district, regardless, and especially the last week of the regular season, regardless of outcome, because it's really substance that you want here this late part of the year.
Yeah, and especially they're still fighting for MPR points. They're still fighting for a different seed line. So if you're a team that you see that, oh, if I'm this seed and we have to play this team, I don't like our chances. So you got to hope that you take care of business. You get some help from some other teams, and maybe you jump up a seed line. So you're going to see that just like the boys last Sunday, the girls are going to get their seeds this Sunday, right around like noon. And this is your last day to put in that work. I guess if you're playing on Saturday, but most of the teams in CSAA are all playing Friday night. This is your last time to put in the work to get any points that you want. You may lose some points, you never know, but this is your last time to get those MPR points. Hopefully, get the seed line you want, and then you get 2 games to prepare for your tournament run.
Absolutely. And speaking of that tournament run, obviously no brackets to break down yet for the girls, but an update in rankings as well. We'll start in District 35. That win against Newaygo, crucial, right? It flips Big Rapids in the right place. Now they're in a good spot, right? Newaygo's right there at that 3 spot. But the biggest thing right now, Blake, especially Ludington, Reed City. Reed City's hot. Ludington's a team that,
Yes.
of course, postseason always turns up. We know that. So really for the Cardinals, just getting a bye seems like a very important. I think any team would want that in this part of the postseason to just get to Wednesday night and even have some extra preparation too.
Yeah, and this district is loaded. Like I said, Ludington's a team that won a district last year. It's been to the Final Four in the last 5 years on the girls' side as well. And then you've got Reed City, who's one of the hottest teams playing right now, doing a lot of really good things. You got Newaygo, who's won 15 ball games. Okay, then you've got a Fremont team that's what 16 or 17-2. So you've got especially those top 4 teams. The Ludington's limping in at 14-5. One of the toughest districts in the entire state of Michigan. And it's all about a draw, right? Big Rapids is really close to getting that 1 seed. And then you get the winner of Ludington and Reed City right now. But if they stay in that 2 seed, they get Newaygo for a 3rd time. And it's tough, like we said, like Ty's mom said, it's tough to beat a team 3 times, especially a good one. Luckily, the girls, if they do play Newaygo, they don't have to go to Newaygo and play. It's at Fremont, which we all know is an interesting gym to say the least. If you don't hit the center of the cup, it might not go in. So a really tough district for the girls. Really, really excited to see how it unfolds. It's going to be a lot of really good basketball.
For sure. Looking at some of the other districts here really quick, looking at D36, right? Clare and Standish duking it out at this point, the regular season ending, especially with some of those Jack Pine games left, going to be crucial. Gladwin's there, also fighting in the mix. Chip Hills in that district with Ogama. Those 2 teams likely going to line up on Monday night. District 40 with Ionia, right? Portland is in the driver's seat. Central Montcalm slipping up. They got to be careful the rest of the way with these 3 games because then they might get flipped with Belding and they're playing night one, right? So obviously one last game can definitely not only help with health, but give you confidence going into that Wednesday game. District 41 right now, Grant, right? For them, this is huge for Friday because how you play could determine, if you don't have the confidence playing Good Friday and now you're hosting in this district, anything can happen, right? We might see something crazy happen there. Sparta, Tri-County, as well as Comstock Park looking to wreak havoc there, especially being in Tri-County. That's an offensive-minded gym, so we'll see how those scores turn out. Then you got D72, right? Mason County, right? Chasing Hart and Shelby, but they're hosting a home gym. Can mean anything. Ty knows that. Obviously, all the fans know that. Manistee in the mix as well with White Cloud and Hesperia. Then you have D73. There they are again. Rinse, repeat, broken record. Morley Stanwood and Kent City battling up there. Ravenna is also in the mix. Be on the lookout for them trying to make a late push. And then you got Holton, Lakeview, and Blanchard, Montebello. Looking at it, Blake, what are some of those districts that you might be watching here outside of the ones obviously in D35?
Definitely District 73. I fully expect to see a Kent City, Morley Stanwood Part 3 rematch for a district title. It seems like every time they get together, they play a meaningful game. And here we go again. And then also, Central Montcalm is a well-coached team, historically a very good program, had a couple of teams, pre-COVID that were fantastic, top 5 teams in the state. So I'd love to see them get a win, move on. But again, same thing. When I'm cheering for high school basketball teams, I'm cheering for the CSAA. As long as they're not playing Big Rapids. So I'd like to see those teams all find a way to win a couple of district games. I think that would be awesome, especially for, the basketball atmosphere in this area.
Absolutely. It feels like the CSA has been kicked under the rug a little bit this year. Yeah, the percentages haven't been there. The NPR hasn't as well. Might be considered a down year, but let's see what they can do in the postseason. It would be huge. Finishing up here to wrap up the show. Thanks for everybody tuning in. I'm going to pitch it over to you, Ty. Friday night, everybody's thinking about maybe going to the game. What are you going to tell them, especially with the Cardinal crazies? They're going to be out and about. I know the band's going to be there. The whole town's going to be there. Here's your 60-second pitch to tell people why they should show up and as well listen to Blake and I on Friday night.
I mean, get there early. I don't know. Parking, you might have to park somewhere else. I don't know. I don't know. It's going to be fun. I mean, I'm just excited to play in front of all those people. I mean, even I love playing in front of the opposing fans. It's always fun to be the villain. I mean, as much as Grant would want to have the district for themselves, I know that would mean everything to them to beat us twice in a year as well. I mean, playing spoiler and getting, hey, we're here too, would be pretty fun. But yeah, I mean, tune in to Brandon and Coach T. Yeah, I mean, they do a good job on there. I know my grandma in Manistee, she's always tuned into you guys. She counts my points and rebounds for me. So she let me know I had 14 points last night. So tune into them or come down and watch us. It'd be fun.
Hey, Blake does a great job at stats, but it doesn't mind to have a second person too. Always can have more the merrier, but especially for you, Ty, this matchup, right? Talk about how the boys are feeling. It feels like there's a lot of confidence in the locker room right now for you guys, especially playing that round 2 game against Grant. Obviously, at their place, it's a tough place to play. Things didn't go your way. What are those things that you think you guys can do better and help, especially try to beat Grant this time around?
I feel like last time we were pretty rushed. I mean, like we were just going too quick. We gotta chillax out there. We played 2 tense, obviously tense, but we just gotta relax. Play like just play your game. You'll be all right. Move the ball. Again, just hustle your butt off. Do as good as you can. If you come in for 2 minutes, work as hard as you can for those 2 minutes. I mean, if you don't come in at all, just be a bench mob. Do as good as you can on the bench to, support your teammates.
For sure. We can't wait to see you guys on Friday. And Blake, now I'll pitch it to you. What especially are you looking forward to most about this Friday night?
You're gonna see at least 3 games that are clinching some sort of league title in the CSAA with the Kent City boys and the Morley Stanwood boys and the Morley Stanwood girls and Kent City girls, and then of course the Big Rapids boys trying to clinch a share. It's going to be an exciting atmosphere. If what Ty said, Grant is bringing everybody. It's gonna look like the gym when Ludington came, when we hosted districts where you couldn't hear yourself think. I couldn't hear. I'm sure the kids couldn't hear me. I'm pretty loud. I was screaming my tail off and lost my voice. I'm hoping that that's the atmosphere for Friday. Hope the guys get off to a good start. I think that's a key. Get off to a good start, match the intensity, feed off of the Cardinal crazies, and hopefully, like Coach Heiss said, you've got nets being cut down on both sides of the gym on Friday night.
That would be a sight to see. And I'm not opposed to the color orange, but I like the navy and red idea a little bit more in our bleachers. I think it would match better. So be there. You can take Blake and I with you into the stands if you choose to be there. If you can't be there, we got the call for you. 96.5, 1460 AM as well. WBRN.com and the WBRN mobile app for this Friday's game, as well as for Reed City and Big Rapids playoffs in District 35. It's going to be great. Going to be a blast. We can't wait to bring it to you. Ty, thank you so much for joining us. Good luck on Friday night, man. Let's see if we can go get a conference championship.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Blake, as always, been a pleasure. We'll see you on Friday night.
Sounds good.
We'll see you all on Friday night. Until next time, here on The Rundown, be sure to subscribe at Big Rapids Daily News on YouTube.